Have you ever wondered what types the Runescape Gods would be if they were Pokemon? Probably not, but I'm a 20-something-year-old millennial, and that means I love RuneScape and I love Pokemon. So, in an effort to combine these two things, I spent more time than reasonable trying to figure this out. Before we get started, I need to outline a few key points about Pokemon types first. Being a type doesn't mean the Pokemon is that thing. Giratina isn't an actual dragon, but it possesses incredible cosmic power. In the Pokemon world, Dragon is a bit more like the Sorcerer type, a creature with an innate ability to control the arcane. Dartrix is a grass flying type that evolves into Decidueye, a grass ghost type. But it didn't die when it evolved. It's a ghost type because it possesses ghostly, spiritual powers. The Swords of Justice, Virizion, Terrakion, Cobalion, and Keldeo, aren't fighting type because they're martial artists. They're fighting type because the fighting type also represents the hero, those that fight for justice. Finally, Fairy isn't reserved only for pixies living in the woods or anything pink, looking at you, Slurpuff. Fairies are creatures born from nature magic. It's like the difference between a carpenter and a tree. The carpenter makes chairs out of wood, but the tree turns air into wood. Just because something isn't explicitly a forest nymph doesn't mean it can't be a fairy. It simply needs to possess fairy-like qualities. With that out of the way, let's get started with the big blueberry himself. Saradomin, self-described god of order and wisdom. I opted to give him the ice type. You see, Saradomin was born thousands of years ago as a simple human from the world known as Terragard, the birthplace of all humans. This world is cold and harsh and filled with some of the most hardy and haughty humans in all the RuneScape multiverse. They're like northerners in the winter. They'll mock you for wearing a jacket in 50-degree weather. So, ice type. And, like a giant glacier, he's slow to change, rigid in his mindset. Ice Rock may be a good typing for him as well, considering how resilient the humans of Terragard are known to be. Look at some of the known Terragardians. Saradomin, obviously. Robert the Strong, the Magister Oreb, and perhaps you remember Lasarkis the Fire Warrior from the Temple of Ikov. Terragardians are a strong bunch. And did you know that Terragardians were fond of colonizing worlds all over the RuneScape multiverse? Guthix stumbled upon one of these worlds and brought the colonists there to Galenor. Though many adjusted to this new land, a few held on to their old identity. We call their descendants the Fremennik. The Frost RuneScape Vikings are literally the closest thing we have to Terragardians. Terragard, Asgard. Saradomin is a Viking god. Ice type, definitely. Next, the Marjorat Upstart, the god of chaos, power, and destruction. Zamorak's typing comes quite easily. Dark. Or Darkfire. Dark because of his betrayal of Zaros. Betrayal is an inherently dirty tactic and fits the dark type perfectly. You see, dark doesn't mean evil. It means underhanded or deceitful, which can be evil in some circumstances, but it doesn't mean capital E evil. Just being plain mean would make you a dark type. As for fire, have you seen his art style? All the architecture he uses? Hell, he's allied with the Vernic demons. They're just a bunch of armor-wearing Satans. Dark fire, absolutely. Moving on from order and chaos, we have our next god. Once a skull with hair, then a green ape man, and now dead, Guthix was, the god of balance and arguably one of the only gods who recognized how dangerous his own powers were. He really seemed to understand what gods did to mortals. It's no surprise, considering his daughter was killed during a god war because Saradomin ran away like a damn coward. Guthix is unique among the gods in that he not only ascended from mortality, but ascended to the same level as Zaros and Saren, two beings created directly by an Elder God. There's a god tier list, by the way. Officially. The Elder Gods are tier 1, Saren and Zaros are tier 2, Saradomin and Bandos, they peaked at tier 3, Zamorak and Armadillo are still at tier 4, Guthix managed to make it to tier 2. He was and still is a powerful god. Even after death, his power influences all events across the world. His exceptional control over anima, RuneScape's version of Pokemon's infinity energy, basically, mana in any other RPG, is rivaled by only the two creations of an Elder God, and the Elders themselves. Because of the power he wielded, I would give him the Dragon type. Not because he is a dragon, although he can shapeshift, but because his powers are cosmic in scale. Also, since he's the god of balance, he's traditionally viewed as the god of nature, a god who favors neither predator nor prey, a god who desires the balance of the world to remain steadfast and solid. Galenor must exist harmoniously, without the influence from forces that would do it harm. He's not unlike a guardian angel, a protector spirit, a fey creature. So he also gets the fairy typing. Dragon Fairy. A cool typing, might I add. The Birdman of Abina, unsurprisingly, gets the flying type. He's a bird. But he's also the god of justice and truth, and this qualifies him for the fighting type as well. As previously stated, the fighting type doesn't only represent martial prowess, but also a strong sense of right and wrong and the desire to protect the innocent. It's the hero type. The Big High War God, Gielinnor's former manipulative, bloodthirsty, and ruthless god of war. Shark Boy. Bandos gets the Steel type, representing his iron will and steely resolve to become the strongest there is. It's not the fight that matters to him, it's not honor, it's not fairness, it's winning. He sets a goal and does all he can to achieve it, destroying any and all who get in his way. He and Saradomin are similar in this, actually, except Bandos admits it.
The other gods are hypocrites. To get what we want, we have to be strongest. They won't admit it, but I tell it how it is. I am not like other gods. Beneath my banner, you fight or you die. There is nothing else. Prove yourself in blood and fury, and your rewards will be great. Fail, and none will mourn.
Ma, an undeveloped elder god, created many things. Two of these things were divine beings named Saren and Zaros. The former, known for her affinity with elves and crystal magic. The latter, known for his ancient magics, his ancient curses, and a sprawling empire he controlled from the shadows. Both possess a strong aura of infatuation. Those who spend too much time in their presence ultimately develop an unyielding loyalty, a reliance. Saren and Zaros are siblings. Their creator is literally named Ma. As a result, they are more similar than they are different. We'll need to take this into account. Game Freak has played fast and loose with the definition of fairy. It could be a magic type, a nature type that isn't grass type, or even a light type. I'm going to use that definition, that fairy is light type. It is super effective against dark type after all, so fairy being a light type isn't totally absurd. And there are a lot of fairy type moves based on light. Moonlight, Moonblast, and Dazzling Gleam to name a few. This would make Saren a fairy type. She and her elves love crystals, and they love using those crystals to bounce light around. But she isn't purely light. She has a dark side, both explicitly represented in Plague's End when we fight an aspect of Saren, the Dark Lord, but also when we learn of her subterfuge regarding the Majorat's ritual of rejuvenation. She's got some darkness in there, so very dark. Zaros, on the other hand, is all about ruling from the shadows, a dark, mysterious force pulling the strings without ever being present. He's definitely a dark type. However, because he and Saren are inextricably linked to one another, I feel like they should have symmetry. Zaros and Saren both act in an ends justify the means sort of way. Their intentions are good, but their methods are questionable. So if Saren is fairy dark, then Zaros is dark fairy. They're like a taijutsu. Yin-yang. Light with some darkness, darkness with some light. Ixclaren is Gielinnor's psychopump, an all-around good boy. He began as the household pet of Tumakin and Elidnus, and because the two are unable to bear children, they instead granted divinity to the closest family they had, their dog and cat, creating the god Ixclaren and the goddess Unasked. It fell upon Ixclaren to ferry souls to the underworld. Surely he gets the ghost type.
I stand my vigil at the gates of Gielinnor's underworld.
But he should also get the normal type for 3 reasons. First of all mono ghost types are spirits, not just ghost-like. Misdreavus, Mismagus, Yamask, Cophagregus, you know the ones. But Ixclaren isn't dead, so he needs a second type to distinguish himself. Secondly, he's a dog. That's pretty normal. Thirdly, I just think Ghost Normal would be a pretty neat type. No other Pokemon has that typing, and I want to see a Pokemon with immunities to his own types. If you haven't kept up with RuneScape since the release of RuneScape 3, or you play only old school, then you won't recognize this god. Tuska is a galactic pig with a craving for space truffles. How she became a god is anyone's guess, but she's a world-hopping god with reality-bending powers, so she gets the dragon type. And since she's a massive monster, dragon fits quite nicely. But she's also just a pig, a normal animal, and look at her, totally normal. She's normal dragon. When a mortal kills a god, the mortal can siphon away the god's divine essence, ascending to godhood themselves. But Sliske has impressed upon us that he is not a god. but I want to cover him anyway. He'd be Dark Ghost. Dark because, well, he's a sneaky shadow man. And Ghost because he raises people as mindless wights, just like the Barrows brothers. He's probably the easiest one to categorize. Sorry, Sliske, but you're basic. As an Adra, Steel because he looks like a cell tower. Zautak is an interesting one. You see...
You live only because he has not noticed you.
Think I'm wrong? Let me know in the comments. Call me an idiot for mislabeling your favorite god. And if you enjoyed this video, why not check out my RuneScape series on this very channel? Or maybe watch me live on Twitch where I stream RuneScape stuff. Thanks for listening. Take care.